There is nothing more haunting than a once magnificent building left abandoned. These structures can be eerie, mysterious, romantic, and even dangerous, all at once. Perhaps that's why exploring them has become a fascination, even a cult-like obsession. But while urban adventurers see them as playgrounds of history and mystery, the commercial real estate world sees them as colossal failures, monuments to lost investments and unrealized dreams. Yet these abandoned buildings stand as more than just decaying ruins. They hold the echoes of lives once lived, of bustling halls and grand ambitions that have since faded into dust. Some are wrapped in legend, others in tragedy, but all of them have stories that refuse to be forgotten. So, join us as we take a tour of the 15 creepiest abandoned buildings in the world that will haunt you. Number 15, Sterick Building, Memphis. Once known as the Queen of Memphis, the Sterick Building was a marvel when it opened in 1930. At 365 feet, it wasn't just the tallest building in Tennessee. It was a symbol of ambition. Wrapped in Gothic-style grandeur, the tower boasted a white stone spire, a green-tiled roof, and an opulent lobby that reportedly rivaled the beauty of a Moorish castle. The first 3 floors held everything from a bank to a beauty parlor, while the top floor housed the exclusive Regency Room restaurant, offering views that stretched across the city. But as Memphis changed, the Sterick struggled to keep up. By the 1960s, modern skyscrapers outshined it, and despite multiple renovations, it never regained its former glory. By the mid-1980s, the once bustling tower stood empty, a relic of a different era. Though listed on the National Register of Historic Places, it remains abandoned, a looming ghost of the city's golden age. Number 14, Book Tower, Detroit. Detroit's Book Tower isn't just one of the city's most striking skyscrapers, it's also one of its most bizarrely beautiful failures. Designed in 1926 by architect Louis Camper, this 475-foot, 36-story tower was supposed to be a masterpiece. Instead, it became a chaotic mix of Corinthian columns, intricate scrolls, and an odd assortment of Renaissance-style female figures, earning Camper a reputation as a cake decorator. The building's limestone exterior quickly became grimy, and Camper's biggest mistake? He forgot to include a fire escape. A clunky winding one was later added, only making the tower's already frothy design even more awkward. It held on for decades, but by 2010, the lights went out for good. Its Vancouver-based owner racked up $87,000 in unpaid electricity bills, forcing its last tenants to flee. Plans to restore it into a residential commercial hub have surfaced repeatedly, but for now, Book Tower remains a forgotten monument to Detroit's past, a building too strange to live, yet too grand to die. Number 13, Michigan Central Station, Detroit. If buildings could talk, Michigan Central Station would have one hell of a story. When it opened in 1913, it was the tallest train station in the world, a $15 million Beaux-Arts marvel meant to usher Detroit into the future. But there was one fatal flaw. It was built too far from the city's core. While streetcars brought passengers in, the rising dominance of automobiles made the station's location less convenient. Still, MCS had its golden years. During both World Wars, the station was a critical hub, seeing over 200 trains per day and welcoming icons like Charlie Chaplin, Thomas Edison, and 3 U.S. presidents. But by the 1950s, train travel declined, and attempts to sell MCS in the 60s failed. Amtrak gave it a temporary lifeline in the 70s, but by 1988, the doors shut for good. Over the years, its towering, graffiti-covered ruins have appeared in films like 8 Mile and Transformers, and though several restoration projects have stalled, hope remains. With federal funding for high-speed rail, MCS may yet rise again. Number 12, Tlatelolco Pyramid, Mexico City. Some buildings refuse to be forgotten, and Torre Insignia is one of them. When it opened in 1962, this 417-foot triangular tower was Mexico City's second tallest building and the crown jewel of the Tlatelolco district. It housed the Banobras Bank headquarters, and its 47-bell carillon, a gift from Belgium, became the tallest of its kind in the world. But location is everything, and Torre Insignia had the worst kind, an earthquake zone. Although it was built to withstand tremors up to 8.5 on the Richter scale, the devastating 1985 earthquake left Mexico City forever changed. Businesses fled, and despite surviving multiple quakes since, the tower was abandoned. Over the years, it's been remodeled twice, bought and sold multiple times, and yet remains a striking, empty silhouette against the city's skyline. Today, it stands as both an architectural icon and an urban ghost, waiting for its next chapter. Number 11. Partenón de Zihuatanejo, Mexico. If corruption had a physical form, it would be the Partenón de Zihuatanejo. Built in the late 1970s by Arturo El Negro Durazo Moreno, one of Mexico's most infamous police chiefs, this decadent mansion wasn't just a symbol of wealth. It was a monument to unchecked power. Despite earning less than $1,000 a month, Durazo amassed palatial homes, luxury cars, and real estate across North America, all thanks to extortion and corruption. Nicknamed Corruption Palace, the Partenón was his summer retreat, an extravagant Greco-Roman villa complete with marble columns, sprawling balconies, and secret tunnels leading to the beach. But its most unsettling features? A tiger cage, a crocodile pit, and a massive kennel for his guard dogs. Durazo's empire crumbled in 1984 when authorities finally caught up with him. He served 6 years of a 16-year sentence, but his lavish estate was left to decay. Today, the jungle is reclaiming it, yet its eerie grandeur remains, a rotting relic of greed, excess, and downfall. Number 10. Haludovo Palace Hotel, Croatia. A casino, a luxury resort, and a communist-era relic all rolled into one. The Haludovo Palace Hotel is the kind of place that makes you wonder what the hell happened. Built in 1971 on the Croatian island of Krk, it was supposed to be a playground for the rich and powerful. Even American billionaire Bob Guccione, the founder of Penthouse magazine, invested millions into its lavish casinos and seaside views. For a while it worked. Then came war. In the 1990s, as Yugoslavia collapsed, tourism dried up, and by 2001, the once glittering hotel closed for good. Now it's a decaying concrete skeleton, its abandoned swimming pools and crumbling suites standing in eerie contrast to the crystal blue Adriatic just beyond. Yet, despite its ruin, visitors still come, drawn by its strange, almost post-apocalyptic beauty. It's proof that even in decay, some places refuse to be forgotten. Number 9. Sattler Theater, Buffalo, New York. Once a beacon of entertainment, the Sattler Theater was built in 1914, boasting a grand 928-seat auditorium in classic Beaux-Arts style. Commissioned by department store mogul John G. Sattler, it was designed to impress, and for decades, it did. Then came the 1960s, when the theater took on a new identity as a mosque, even hosting Malcolm X. But as time passed, the crowds dwindled, and by the 1990s, the Sattler stood silent, left to battle the elements alone. Today, it's a ghost of its former self, surrounded by empty lots, storage units, and gas stations, a stark reminder of Buffalo's shifting landscape. Yet inside, there's still beauty. Dust-covered balconies, ornate molding clinging to the past, and a breathtaking circular skylight filtering light onto a space long forgotten. Efforts to restore the theater have flickered over the years, but for now, it remains frozen in time, waiting for someone to bring it back to life. Now, let's move to Number 8. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Most ghost towns are abandoned due to economic downturns or fading industries. Centralia, however, was abandoned because it's literally on fire. What was once a thriving coal mining town is now a desolate wasteland, thanks to an underground mine fire that ignited in 1962 and is still burning to this day. At first, residents didn't think much of it. A little smoke here, a warm patch of ground there. But as temperatures rose and sinkholes began swallowing sidewalks, it became clear that Centralia was doomed. By the 1980s, the government relocated nearly everyone, and today, only a handful of stubborn residents remain. Walking through Centralia feels like stepping into a dystopian novel, graffiti-covered roads, abandoned buildings, and the occasional eerie plume of smoke seeping from the earth. If that's not enough nightmare fuel, experts predict the fire could keep burning for another 250 years. That's one long, slow goodbye. Number 7. St. George's Church, Czech Republic. St. George's Church in Lukovo looks like something straight out of a horror movie. Built in 1352, this historic Czech church has endured centuries of fires, battles, and renovations, only to be left abandoned after a funeral service in 1968 ended in disaster when part of the roof collapsed mid-ceremony. That was enough to convince the local congregation that the place was cursed. They never returned. Over time, looters stripped the church bare, leaving behind little more than crumbling walls. But in 2012, a student artist had a brilliant and terrifying idea. He filled the church with 30 eerie, life-sized ghost sculptures, sitting silently in the pews, heads bowed in eternal prayer. The effect is chilling. Today, visitors from around the world come to see these spectral figures, adding an unexpected second life to a church once left for dead. And while no one knows if the spirits are real, standing among them, you might just start to believe. Number 6. Kennecott, Alaska. There was a time when Kennecott was a thriving, self-sustaining mining town, built on the riches of copper buried deep in the Alaskan wilderness. From 1911 to 1938, more than $200 million worth of copper was processed here, fueling industries across America. The town had everything: its own hospital, skating rink, tennis courts, and even a dairy, all nestled in the remote expanse of what is now Wrangell St. Elias National Park. But when the mines dried up, so did the town's lifeblood. For more than 60 years, most of its buildings have stood empty, weathered, and slowly crumbling. Some have deteriorated past salvation, yet even in decay, Kennecott retains an eerie, almost haunting beauty. In 1998, the National Park Service acquired many of its historic structures, with efforts to preserve what remains. Today, visitors can explore its red-hued mill buildings, a silent testament to the town's boom and bust legacy. The visitor center opens from Memorial Day to Labor Day, but the ghosts of Kennecott linger year-round. Number 5. Sathorn Unique, Bangkok. If you ask locals about Sathorn Unique, they'll tell you it's haunted. A 49-story luxury apartment tower, it was meant to be Bangkok's crown jewel in the 1990s, a soaring monument to Thailand's economic success. Then, in 1997, the Asian financial crisis hit, and the building, barely more than a skeleton, was abandoned overnight. Today, the most infamous of Bangkok's ghost towers still looms over the city, frozen in time. Grand 4-story archways and Romanesque columns now wear a cloak of overgrown vines, while its half-finished interiors remain eerily intact. Wooden floors laid, wardrobes installed, even working electricity and plumbing in some areas. 2 escalators at the entrance still stand, leading to nowhere. A small Buddhist shrine has been placed inside the lobby, meant to ward off spirits. But with open elevator shafts, collapsing stairwells, and a pack of wild dogs roaming inside, it's the living, not just the dead, that make this building truly dangerous. Number 4. Ryugyong Hotel, North Korea. North Korea doesn't do things halfway. In 1987, they broke ground on Ryugyong Hotel, a 105-story, 1,083-foot-tall skyscraper meant to showcase the regime's supremacy and ambition. Planned as the world's tallest hotel, it would house 7,600 rooms, revolving restaurants, and luxury suites. But reality had other plans. By 1993, the project was already a disaster. Funding ran out, the Soviet Union collapsed, and construction halted indefinitely. For years, the hollow, pyramid-shaped monolith stood abandoned, earning the nickname Hotel of Doom. Then, in 2008, Egyptian firm Orascom spent $180 million to complete the building's glass facade. But what's inside remains a mystery. Multiple international hotel chains, including Kempinski, have attempted to launch projects here, but sanctions and geopolitical tensions have kept the building lifeless. Though it dominates Pyongyang's skyline, the world's tallest unoccupied structure remains a symbol of North Korea's failed grandeur, an empty promise made of steel and glass. Number 3. Villa Epecuén, Argentina. Once a thriving resort village in the 1920s, Villa Epecuén was a favorite getaway for vacationers from Buenos Aires. Visitors would arrive by train to enjoy luxurious accommodations and bask in the nearby salt lake, believed to possess healing properties. At its peak, the village welcomed up to 5,000 guests. However, its prosperity came to an abrupt and unusual end in 1985, when a powerful wave breached a dam, flooding the town with the lake's saline waters. Submerged under more than 30 feet of water, Villa Epecuén disappeared for decades until the waters finally receded in 2009, revealing a hauntingly beautiful salt-encrusted landscape of ghostly trees and crumbling buildings. Number 2. Centro Financiero Confinanzas, Venezuela. If you've seen Homeland, you've seen the Tower of David. The 620-foot unfinished skyscraper was supposed to be a luxury financial center, complete with a swimming pool, helipad, and high-end apartments. But its creator, banker David Brillembourg, died in 1993, and the Venezuelan financial crisis left the building frozen in time. By 2007, 800 homeless families moved in, led by a former gang member turned pastor. The world's tallest slum became a self-sustaining vertical city, with residents jury-rigging electricity, plumbing, and even makeshift elevators using motorcycles. Life inside was rough but not lawless. The 28th occupied floors housed small businesses, daycare centers, and even a dentist's office. In 2014, the government evacuated the residents as part of its Great Housing Mission project, leaving the tower empty once more. While Chinese banks have expressed interest in revitalizing it, the Venezuelan government remains undecided. Demolish it, repurpose it, or let it stand as a monument to economic collapse. Number 1. Gunkanjima, Japan. Few places in the world feel as abandoned, eerie, and cinematic as Gunkanjima, Japan's ghost island. Located 9 miles off the coast of Nagasaki, this 16-acre concrete jungle was once one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Built by Mitsubishi in 1890, it served as a coal mining hub, housing 5,259 workers and their families in Japan's first high-rise concrete apartment buildings. But when petroleum replaced coal, Gunkanjima fell into sudden decline. By 1974, Mitsubishi shut down operations, and the island was left to decay, battered by typhoons and time. Today, the crumbling stairwells, rusted playgrounds, and empty school halls remain untouched, like a post-apocalyptic snapshot of a world left behind. The island has been featured in everything from the James Bond film Skyfall to life after people, and Google Street View even mapped it in 2013. Though once forbidden, Gunkanjima is now open for limited tours, allowing visitors to step into the ghost town of the sea. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.